More than 300 years ago, the entire population of an English colony in North America simply vanished without a trace. There were no signs of a massacre, no indication of a mass exodus, and not a single clue as to what could have possibly happened to them. It was as if the 115 men, women and children just disappeared into thin air. But now, almost 4 centuries later, archaeologists say they may finally have uncovered new evidence in the case of America's biggest historical mystery. So what does the latest archaeological evidence tell us about what happened to the lost colony of Roanoke? Let's take a closer look at this mysterious and chilling mystery. As we all know, humans are naturally curious creatures. We love nothing more than solving mysteries and puzzles, especially when there are strange circumstances involved. But what happens when a mystery has remained unsolved for hundreds of years? That's exactly what happened to the lost colony of Roanoke. The mystery began back in 1585, when the first English colony was established on Roanoke Island off the coast of present-day North Carolina. The settlement was established by Sir Walter Raleigh, who had been granted a royal charter by Queen Elizabeth I to do so. However, the colony was not successful, and after only 1 year, the settlers were forced to abandon it and flee to England. But Raleigh was determined to make the colony work. So in 1587, he sent out a second group of settlers led by John White, who was to become the governor of the colony. This time around, there were 115 people in the colony, including men, women and children. And unlike the first colony, this one actually lasted for a while. The settlers built homes, planted crops, and even started a small town, which they named Roanoke. But after 3 years, food supplies began to dwindle, and the colonists became desperate. In 1590, when White went to England to try to get more supplies, he returned to find that the entire colony had vanished. There was no sign of a struggle and no indication of where the colonists could have gone. All that was left behind was the word Croatoan carved into a post. To this day, nobody knows what happened to the lost colony of Roanoke. There are many theories, but no one knows for sure. Some believe that the colonists were killed by hostile Native Americans. Others believed that they simply integrated with the local tribes and lived out the remainder of their lives among them. Still, others believe that the colonists may have been victims of disease or starvation. But now, almost 400 years later, we may finally have some answers. Recently, archaeologists unearthed new clues that may shed light on what happened to the lost colony of Roanoke. While excavating the site of the former colony, researchers found a number of artifacts that date back to the late 16th century. Among these artifacts were pieces of pottery, glass and metal that suggest the colonists may have had contact with Europeans from other countries. In addition, the team also found evidence that the colonists were living in relative harmony with the local indigenous people. This evidence includes a pipe that was made by Native Americans and bears the image of a white man smoking. This suggests that the colonists and the natives were not only trading with each other, but were also adopting each other's customs. One of the most interesting finds was a coin that dates back to the year 1588. The coin was minted in Spain, and its discovery suggests that the colonists may have had contact with Spanish explorers who were known to frequent the area. Another intriguing piece of evidence is a piece of sheet music that was found by a researcher, Timothy Unsolved, in 2019. The music sheet is one of only two known to exist from the Elizabethan era and features a song called The Governor's Mowgli. The song is about a wife who leaves her husband and goes to live with another man. Some believe that the song may be a clue to what happened to the lost colony of Roanoke, suggesting that the women may have left the settlement to live with Native American men. However, it's important to note that none of this evidence is conclusive, but it does paint a more complex picture of what life was like in the Roanoke colony and the people who lived there. The discovery of these artifacts has shed new light on the mystery of Roanoke and the lost colony of Roanoke. It's possible that the colonists did not disappear into thin air, but rather integrated with the local tribes and lived out the remainder of their lives among them. This theory is supported by the fact that the team found no evidence of a struggle or massacre, and that all of the houses were found completely abandoned. It's also possible that the colonists were victims of disease or starvation. In fact, there is some evidence that a drought may have hit the area during the time the colonists were there. This could have led to the failure of their crops and ultimately their deaths. Still, despite all of the theories and speculation, the truth is we may never know for sure what happened to the lost colony of Roanoke. The mystery is one of the oldest in American history, and it may be impossible to solve it now. There are a lot of theories out there about what could have happened to the lost colony of Roanoke. Some people believe that they were all killed by the Native Americans. However, there is no evidence to support this theory. If anything, the new archaeological findings suggest that the colonists were living in relative harmony with the natives. Others believe that the colonists didn't disappear at all, but rather decided to flee the colony and start a new life elsewhere. This theory is supported by the fact that there is no evidence of a struggle or massacre, and that all of the houses were found completely abandoned. It's possible that the colonists simply packed up and left when they realized that the colony wasn't going to work out. They may have traveled to other settlements in North America, or perhaps even returned to England. Still, there is no evidence to support this theory either. So what is the truth? What really happened to the lost colony of Roanoke? Unfortunately, we may never know for sure. The mystery is one of the oldest in American history, and it may be impossible to solve it now. The disappearance of the lost colony of Roanoke remains one of the most intriguing mysteries in American history. While the recent archaeological discoveries have shed new light on what life was like in the colony and the people who live there, they have not provided any definitive answers as to what happened to the 115 men, women, and children who vanished without a trace. The mystery continues to captivate historians and amateur sleuths alike, and it may be a long time before we ever get the answers we are looking for. So what do you think happened to the lost colony of Roanoke? Do you have any theories or ideas? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this one. Before we wrap up today's video, let's take a moment to look at some of the most popular theories about what happened to the lost colony of Roanoke. The Native American theory. One of the most popular theories is that the colonists were killed and absorbed into the Native American tribes. This theory is supported by the fact that the colonists would have had access to weapons and ammunition, making it possible for them to defend themselves against any attacks. However, there is no evidence to support this theory. If anything, the recent archaeological findings suggest that the colonists were living in relative harmony with the natives. The disease theory. Another popular theory is that the colonists died from a disease brought over from Europe. This theory is supported by the fact that the colonists were living in cramped conditions and had little access to medical care. However, there is no evidence to support this theory either. The starvation theory. A third popular theory is that the colonists starved to death because they were unable to grow enough food. This theory is supported by the fact that there is some evidence that a drought may have hit the area during the time the colonists were there. However, again, there is no concrete evidence to support this theory. The Spanish theory. A fourth popular theory is that the colonists were killed by the Spanish because they were English. This theory is supported by the fact that Spain and England were bitter rivals at the time, and that the Spanish were known to frequent the area. However, there is no evidence to support this theory either. The unexplainable. Ultimately, the truth is we may never know for sure what happened to the lost colony of Roanoke. The mystery is one of the oldest in American history, and it may be impossible to solve it now. What do you think happened to the lost colony of Roanoke? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this one. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.